Braverman. I am grateful to be Mayor Young's Housing Commissioner, and it's great to have another day in Upton. Another great day in Upton. We were just here last week, the mayor and I, and Councilman Costello, almost everybody here for a great announcement at BS 103, Thurgood Marshall School, and we're here with Mayor Young to do that again. When I said last time, I think I want to repeat for 1 second. This is the city that will show the country how to get community development right. That means we're going to build our own assets. We're going to build on our own assets in communities like Upton, Druid Heights, Penn North, Broadway East, Johnson Square, Chum, Park Heights, and other neighborhoods like that across the city. But we are going to lead by doing that in an equitable and inclusive way. DHCD, with the support of Mayor Young, has published our framework for community development that highlights how, as a city, we will bring extraordinary new resources to our community development efforts to ensure equity and inclusivity from the start and to invest strategically. And we do that with our state partners. We have an extraordinary partnership with the state, invested $250,000 to stabilize the roof on the Upton Mansion to help get us where we are today, to give funds to help renovate for home ownership the houses on Dolphin behind us, and are continuously supporting our activities in Upton and across the city. It's a great partnership. And I'm proud to say that both the state and the city are committed to bringing these resources and supporting community development framework, which focuses right here in Upton. But the assets I referred to, I know, I'm getting, one more second, Mr. Mayor. The assets I referred to are not just the extraordinary role. Yeah, thank you. It's not just the extraordinary role that this neighborhood has played in the history of this country, right? About which you'll hear so much more about this morning. And it's not just the stunning architecture and elegant buildings. And I'm thinking about some of the activities around that, right? What's happened, we were all at a ribbon cutting at the Bethel Wellness Center. It's a few blocks over on McCullough. We have the 1313 Druid Hill Avenue out for a expression of interest right now. Right behind us, we mentioned the 700 block of Dolphin. We're about to have our use and occupancies and a ribbon cutting. Go down 1 block south from there, you got the blocks of Harlem and Edmondson. We have a state and city partnership renovating those blocks. We have the 1300 block of Division we didn't talk about when we were out at PS 103, but in fact, we have a state and city partnership with the Upton Planning Committee to redevelop the vacant houses on that block. There is a lot going on in Upton, and I left out the football field at Robert C. Marshall Park. It's going to be renovated thanks to our colleagues at Rec and Parks for a full, and our state partners for the bond bill, but a full regulation-sized football field. So I'm talking about sort of geographic and physical assets, but I want to make really clear one point. The assets are not just that. The assets really in Baltimore are the people of Baltimore, right? And the leadership of our anchor and community institutions. So I'm going to shout out, I know there are so many members of that leadership team here. Forgive me if I shout out Jules Dunham-Howie and Wanda Best, the leadership of our Upton Planning Committee, for all the great work that they do. And I know that they will hold us all accountable, right? For everything that I just said. So I know I speak for the state, the city, and the mayor when I say all we're trying to do is just keep up, okay? We're just doing our best to keep up with them. And with that, without further ado, let me introduce our Councilman Eric Costello. He's going to introduce our mayor. No one works more tirelessly in this community for the businesses and for the people in this neighborhood. Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Michael. When Commissioner Braverman says he's just trying to keep up, I am too. It seems like I can't go a week without a call from Michael's office about an announcement, a groundbreaking, a ribbon cutting. It's incredibly exciting what Michael's team has been able to do, and that's really largely in part to Mayor Jack Young's leadership here. I also want to give a thank you to our community leaders. I also saw Atiba Nkrumah from Marble Hill, Jules Dunham-Howe, and especially Wanda Best. What the mayor is about to announce today, we're standing in a building that was constructed in 1838. Now, I don't want to steal the mayor's thunder, and I think we... No, sir. But the team that the mayor has selected, and this is really a credit to the mayor's leadership and to his vision, is really an institution, not only in Baltimore City, but in our nation. And they've been operating since 1892. And I won't say what category they are in, but they are the longest continually operating African American entity in their business. But we really wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Mayor Jack Young and for his vision to bring in that caliber of community partner to work with our community partners like the Upton Planning Committee. So with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Mayor of Baltimore City, Mayor Jack Young.
I just got to give a public service announcement for Ronald McDonald. They have a fundraiser where they raise money for the children and families of Ronald McDonald, so they told me to wear these socks, take a picture, and send it to them. I thought I'd get that out there.
Yeah, right.
Quite you had a pair of these on yesterday, I saw you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Councilman Costello. I also want to acknowledge Congressman-elect Kwesi Mfume, who have joined us here today, Councilman Leon Pinkett, and also Commissioner Michael Braverman, who was before Councilman Costello, Reverend Dr. Francis Tony Draper, publisher of Afro, and the first husband, Mr. Draper. Where he at? Always call him the first husband, because in church they always talk about the first lady. He's the first husband. Dr. Dale Green, the architect, Salton Campbell, Britt and Associates. And of course, all our community leaders, and Wanda Best, president of the Upton Community Association. Over the last several weeks, I've been in the Upton community for more than one exciting announcement. Historic Upton represents one of the great things about our city. A thriving, successful neighborhood, great housing stock, livable streets, quick access to 5 train stations, proximity to employment, all right here in Upton. This is a great neighborhood, and a neighborhood where we've worked to maintain and protect historic treasures. The Upton Mansion is a significant piece of architecture. It is rare, surviving 19th century Greek revival country house. This property was added to the city's historic landmark list in 2008 and was included in the 2009 list of the most endangered buildings in the state of Maryland by Maryland Magazine and Preservation Maryland. We worked together with the state to stabilize and protect this structure, and then we began contemplating this structure's future. Well, today we're here to share with you a bright future indeed. Come on, y'all, we can clap for that one. Yeah. I'm extremely excited to announce that this location will be the new home of the African American newspaper. Afro Charities and Afro-American newspapers are a valued institution in the city of Baltimore, with a rich history of public service and community engagement. So many great and historical figures are associated with the Afro: the Murphys, the Mitchells, the Dailies, and many more. You would be hard-pressed to find someone in Black Baltimore that does not have an amazing Afro memory to share with you. I got many of them in the Afro Clean Block. Remember the Afro Clean Block? The Afro has touched so many lives and steadied this nation in many ways throughout the dawn of the Civil Rights era and beyond. Its impact on African American in particular and Americans in general is immeasurable. The Afro itself is a rarity. And to connect this historic institution to this historic structure, also known as a rarity, well, sometimes just seems right about that to me. Congratulations again to the Afro on being selected as the developer of this site. I'd like to invite the winning team up at this time. Where's the development team? Come on up, development team. You got it? Yeah. All right. Reverend Draper will tell us more about the team and the plans for the future of this site. Reverend Dr. Draper.
Thank you, Mayor Young, to Councilman Costello, Councilman Pinkett, Commissioner Braverman, the Honorable Kwesi Mfume, ladies and gentlemen, especially those from the Upton community. I see so many people here. You know how they say in church, you start calling names, you're going to be in trouble. but I do want to acknowledge the presence of one of our Afro Charities board members, Frank Kelly III. I do want to acknowledge Afro staffers. Y'all holler back at me. We're glad that you are here on a deadline day. Do I see Beverly Carter in? Beverly Carter is also one of our Afro Charities board members and Afro Company board members, so thank you, Beverly, for being here. In 1868, 30 years after this building was constructed, my great-grandfather, John Henry Murphy Sr., married my great-grandmother, Martha Howard Murphy. And as the family story goes, and depends on who's telling the story, the men in the family say that Martha loaned $200 to my great-grandfather to purchase the afro at an auction. That's what the men in the family say that she gave it. The women in the family say she loaned it. Her father was a wealthy landowner in Montgomery County. In fact, the wealthiest landowner, African-American landowner in the state of Maryland. And he had done well taking produce back and forth from Baltimore, from Montgomery County to Baltimore City. His name was Enoch George Howard. And when he died, he divided his land up amongst his children, and Martha sold her share to her brothers and got a whopping $400 for it and loaned $200 or gave $200 to my great-grandfather. He used that money to buy the afro name. Can you believe it? It was already in existence. He bought the name of the afro and a printing press at an auction for the $200. The press had been used to print a feed sheet. It advertised feed for sale for cows and pigs or whatever else were going through the streets of Baltimore. And that's what it was used for, in partnership with the Reverend Alexander of the Sharon Baptist Church, which was then called the Patterson Baptist Church, and Father George Bragg, the rector of the St. James Episcopal Church. Well, they were better preachers than they were printers, and so they sold out their interest to John Henry Murphy. I give you that history just to say that we started here in Upton. And we are thrilled to be returning to our old West Baltimore roots. I'm going to introduce a team in a minute so that Dale Green will tell you a little bit more about what we plan to do here. But we really are excited about returning to our roots, to becoming an anchor in this community, to giving back to the community, to working with the community. We thank the Upton community for what you've already done to welcome us back home. And we look forward to an exciting partnership going forward as we work together to not only revitalize this community, but this is a community that's going to thrive. This is a community that people are going to want to come to. And this is a community, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, that we're not willing to just give over to outside developers. Amen. Somebody ought to say amen. But it's going to, Jules says she'll clap. And so we're going to need everyone's help. We know we didn't get here on our own, and I'm going to close with this quote from my great-grandfather. He said a newspaper, we're not a newspaper anymore, we're more than that. But that's another speech for another time. But he said a newspaper succeeds because it believes first in God, and then in itself, and in the present generation. But we still believe in God first. We didn't get here by ourselves, and so we give all praise, honor, and glory to God first. Amen. We believe in ourselves, and when I say ourselves, I'm talking about ourselves collectively. And we certainly believe in leaving legacy for the present and future generations. So thank you for joining us in the celebration. We are excited about being in Upton. Thank you. Now let me introduce our team. You've met First Man. Lisa Hodges from Hodges Development. She's going to wave at us. Okay, Marty Glazer from Commercial. He's there. Savannah Wood, who is fifth generation. She is our director of Afro Charities, and so she's a great granddaughter of the founder of the Afro. And also Dr. Dale Green. And Dr. Green is going to come now. I want you all to celebrate Dr. Green. He won't say this. There are approximately 10 African Americans in the country whose specialty is historic preservation, and he's one of them. Dr. Dale Green.
Mayor Young, Commissioner Braverman, Councilman Costello, Councilman Pickett, and the Honorable Kwasi Mfume, and all the dignitaries, and to all assembled here today, good afternoon. As it's been mentioned, I'm Dale Green. I'm the architect, partner, and vice president in the firm Sultan Campbell Britton Associates, and a Morgan State University professor of architecture and historic preservation. I'm honored to stand on these hallowed grounds here today and to be a part of the Afro team. Our team, in collaboration with this community and all of you as the stakeholders, will restore and adaptively reuse this historically, culturally, and architecturally significant building known as the Upton Mansion. Today is indeed a historic day. We have gathered here in the Upton community in Old West Baltimore, the nation's largest African American historic district, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The Upton Mansion was built in 1838, and it was possibly designed by the noted architect Robert Carey Long, Jr. No confirmation of Long's record exists. However, Long was one of the Baltimore's first professionally trained architects, and he also designed the Lloyd Street Synagogue, which is now part of the Jewish Museum of Maryland. This is an architecturally and culturally significant property. It is the last surviving Greek Revival country house in Baltimore City. It is a pre-emancipation property. It was originally the home of Edward Ireland from 1785 to 1838. And then in 1838, David Stewart built on this property the Upton Mansion. On these grounds and inside these buildings were enslaved African Americans. This property remained under white ownership from 1838 to 1924. But in 1924, Robert Young, a musician and a famous African American, owned the Upton Mansion. This property was described in a newspaper account in 1929. At that time, the Upton Mansion retained 10 acres of grounds and the full measure of the original elegance of the mansion. Most significantly, during that same time, this property was owned by African American Robert Young. He was the first African American to ever own this property in its 182 years of history. Robert Young used this spacious and opulent mansion to host several brilliant social affairs where hundreds of guests moved about in the spacious rooms of the Upton Mansion. Young was the last owner of this building as a private residence. In the 1960s, the mansion was chosen as the community namesake during an urban renewal project that took place in this very neighborhood. As a physical landmark of this neighborhood, and for more than a century, the Upton Mansion's name was intended to serve as a symbol of physical and human renewal in West Baltimore. However, despite its presence on the National Register of Historic Places and the Baltimore City Landmark List, this property went empty and was unmaintained until 2006. In 2009, Preservation Maryland included this property, the Upton Mansion, on its list of the state's most endangered historic places. The building was threatened and vandalized and often neglected. Today, coinciding with the 182nd anniversary of the Upton Mansion, the Afro team is pleased to restore and adaptively reuse what is now 1 acre of the historic property, situated 150 feet above the sea level. And we will reestablish this Upton Mansion as a community landmark and as the official headquarters of the Afro, including adaptively reusing the carriage house where we currently stand. Additionally, the Afro team will create a sensitive addition to the Upton Mansion, including a connector where an elevator and a stair will connect both the historic Upton Mansion as well as a new 4-level annexation. There will be on-site parking. The mansion will be restored and adaptively reused, and it will contain the official archives of the Afro, research rooms, exhibit space, offices, and the Afro executive spaces. There will be studio space, Afro media suites, mini theaters and classrooms, storage, fitness, learning spaces, and office space for lease. and spaces for the community. The Upton Mansion, built 182 years ago, once a site where enslaved African Americans lived, the last surviving Greek Revival country house in Baltimore City, a property that has only witnessed one African American owner in its history, a site of historical and architectural significance, today becomes the official headquarters of the Afro, the longest running African American family-owned newspaper in the nation. This very historic place will receive its second African American landowner by a company founded and established in 1892 by a former enslaved African American, John Henry Murphy Sr. Thank you, Mayor Young. Thank you, Commissioner Braverman, for entrusting the Afro team with this historic resource.
Michael?
Thank you everybody so much for coming. I couldn't say who got the award. The mayor had to do that. I think we have come a long way. We've come to a great place.
Michael, Wanda has remarked.
Oh, I am so sorry. Thank you, Jules. See, I told you Jules would hold me accountable. Did I not say that? All right. Let me take this opportunity to introduce Wanda Best of the Upton Planning Committee and Jules Dunham. Thank you so much. How could I forget?
It's okay. Is it morning? No, it's afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Wanda Best, the Executive Director of the Upton Planning Committee. I have here some of my teammates, Atiba and Crewmate from Marble Hill, Mrs. Blackwell, the Main Street Manager, Annetta Sims from Edding Street Improvement Association and the Vice President of the Upton Planning Committee, Jules Howie, our CDC Director, who's responsible for implementing the master plan for Upton. The Upton Planning Committee is pleased to be with you on this historic occasion. We are grateful for our partnership with Baltimore City Department of Housing and Community Development and the state DHCD, which is helping us to revitalize the Upton community. I have to thank Mayor Young, Commissioner Braverman, Jay Green, the UPC Board, and our community partners. It is only fitting to have the Afro newspaper return to the Upton community. They have deep roots in the community and are the authority on Black culture in the Baltimore metropolitan area and beyond. We look forward to having their headquarters on this sacred ground, and we say welcome home. All right. Thank you. Where's Eric? Thank you, Councilman Costello, for taking my calls late at night and early in the morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Michael?
Yes.
All right. Jules, did I forget anybody else? No, we're good? All right. With that, Mr. Mayor, I also want to thank our team at DHCD. I mean, this award couldn't have turned out better. It was a process. It required a lot of work. All the great things that we're talking about that are happening in Upton now, the leadership of the Upton community, and the efforts of our 8 of us to build capacity to be able to keep up with that. And so with that said, I wanted to thank, I see Howard Tutman from DHCD here, who's helped us on a daily basis. I see Reggie Scriver in the back. Reggie, thank you. I know that Jay Green is here, who runs our development operations in addition to being our COO. I know there are others here. I see our state partners, Larry and Roger Campos. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank Tammy Hawley and her team. Without Tammy, we wouldn't even have an event today. And she's in charge of all of our strategic communications and events. So thanks to our entire team for everything that we do to try and keep up with you and for all the great work that everyone is doing here. With that, thank you very much. We'll be back, I assure you. We're going to have ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings. We're going to keep moving. Thank you very much.
Big smile. Thank you very much, everyone.